Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Sorry it has been a minute since I've recorded, but today I thought we would do a whole breakdown of my fitness journey and where I started, how it's been along the way, all the bumps up and down, and how I've gotten to where I've gotten, because it's been a wild ride and a lot of you guys have been very curious about this. So just to give some backstory, my name is Eliya. I am a natural bodybuilder. I am 21 years old. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and I grew up playing soccer and doing swimming. Since the age of 4, I was always very athletic, very muscular, kind of heavier than most of the kids around my age, but I wasn't fat by any means. But like even the doctor, when I was, I think like 6 years old, I went in for my annual checkup and they told my mom that I was obese because my BMI was higher than most kids. And they told my mom to put me on a diet. And my mom was like, can you just stop being dumb? Like, look at her. She's just a tank. And I was a tank. So I was doing competitive swimming and soccer. I was really good at swimming. For my age, when I was younger, I was very, very good. And then kind of as time went on, I got more average. It's okay. But yeah, my family is very athletic. My mom teaches yoga. My sister teaches dance and Orange Theory fitness. My dad plays ultimate frisbee. So we've always been just like a really athletic family. So I grew up around the gym and around working out a lot. And all the way until I graduated high school, I was doing competitive sports. So I was doing swimming and soccer. For a little bit I did lacrosse. I dabbled around with volleyball, basketball, dance. I was not very good at that, but I was always moving my body in some capacity. And when COVID hit, I had the option to continue on with lacrosse the next year because COVID canceled the lacrosse season, and then I could come back to it my junior year of high school. But I was honestly like, you know what? I picked up lacrosse pretty late in life and I wasn't that good at it. And I didn't think I was going to make varsity. And being a competitive person, I was like, yeah, screw it. If I'm not going to be on varsity as an upperclassman, I just don't want to do it. So I asked my mom, hey, can I get a gym membership this spring? Because I wanted to stay active. I wanted to stay fit. But I didn't want to do lacrosse anymore. So she got me a gym membership. She said, if I'm going to buy this for you, you better use it. And I really took that to heart. So started going to the gym every single day. I didn't take rest days, which looking back now was very silly, but that was kind of my rah, like all in mindset. So I would do a mix of running because I thought I was very obsessed with being skinny in the beginning. I will say, like, I didn't want to be muscular. I had always honestly stood out because of my muscularity. As I said, I even one time in middle school, I had a boy ask me if I had bicep implants because I have really big arms. And I was always so insecure about my shoulders and my arms because I just naturally have pretty big shoulders and arms, especially before like all the boys went through puberty. Like I literally had a bigger upper body than they did. So it stood out. And to me, that was very negative. I would always wear t-shirts, cover up my shoulder because I was honestly very insecure. I have pictures of me in my Snapchat memories like sobbing about this. Now I obviously love it, but it's hard to stand out when you're young. Anyways, so when I started in the gym, it was more for the goal of being smaller, skinnier, and then also building my legs. Because having a dominant upper body as a girl is honestly, it's really tough. Or it was tough for me in middle school and high school. So that's what I kind of started with. And I would occasionally go on Instagram, look up some, gym fitness influencers. The one that I remember actually doing the most, there was like Liana Deeb, I think I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And then there was obviously like Daisy Keach. I would do her little butt workouts. It was like a 10-minute butt workout with no weights. And I was too scared to use the main gym with any of the dumbbells, any of the racks, any of the machines. And I would go into the little Pilates room. I would grab some dumbbells occasionally and like isolate myself in there. And I would do usually like a video. I would play a video and I would follow along with them. Or, I'd do the ab workouts. I would, during COVID, did a lot of the Chloe Ting. And that was kind of how I dipped my toes in the water. And as time went on, I got more and more comfortable with using the dumbbells outside of the Pilates room and maybe trying to bench, trying to squat. I had a lot of fun with those. I will say my form in the beginning was pretty bad at literally everything. There was no intention behind it. I didn't know what progressive overload was. I didn't know what training till failure was. So when an influencer said like, oh, do 3 sets of 10, I would just pick a random weight and I would just do 10. And it didn't matter if like that was the easiest 10 reps of my life, or if I was really struggling, I would just do 10 and I would put it down. Cause I didn't know like, oh, you're supposed to fail at 10. Like you're supposed to pick a weight that's challenging. No one ever explained that to me. So over time, I kind of understood more and more. And then by the time that I got to college and I was completely done with swimming, soccer, everything, I had every day to myself, and I could train however I wanted, I really, really got into the gym. So I was going every single day. Now, at the same time, my nutrition side of things and my recovery side of things were terrible because I didn't understand what macros were. I was also vegetarian, so forgot to give you guys that backstory. I was vegetarian for the first 20 years of my life. I was raised vegetarian, never had meat. And at this point, I kind of knew that protein was important, but I didn't understand the fats and the carbs at all. And so I had a dining hall my freshman year. I didn't have my own kitchen or anything. And I would get Greek yogurt, plain non-fat Greek yogurt, which that was great. And then I would put in like 4 spoonfuls of peanut butter. Like 2 meals a day. I had a lot of tofu, eggs. So I definitely was getting my protein in, but I was also probably going way over on my fats and under eating my carbs, which for your training, probably not the best. And also I was in a sorority, and that meant that I was drinking like 4 to 5 times a week. And I honestly didn't understand. First of all, I didn't understand how many calories were in drinks. I thought that a shot of vodka was 10 calories. It's actually 100. So I was literally having like half my daily calories in vodka, like 4 times a week, which was obviously terrible for me. So that wasn't great. And also recovery wise, I did not take a rest day ever. I did no cardio. And my sleep was horrible because I would go to bed at like 2 a.m. And even if I slept in for 8+ hours, the quality of your sleep when you have drank is much, much worse. You don't get as much deep sleep or REM. So I obviously cared a lot about the gym, but I wasn't doing things optimally. Now, that's okay. I really enjoyed myself. It built a really solid foundation for my love of the gym and honestly just my muscle. Like I am a person who puts on muscle pretty easily. So even though I was doing terrible form, ego lifting, training too often, like not progressive overloading, switching up my split all the time, I still put on a good amount of muscle because first of all, newbie gains. Second of all, that's just my body type. Then I meet my boyfriend February of my freshman year of college, and he is already bodybuilding. He is a coach. He understands everything about nutrition and training. And he took one look at me and he was like, your genetics are insane. I was like, genetics? What are you even talking about? Because literally I did not know that bodybuilding existed. I didn't know it was a sport. I didn't follow a single fitness influencer on Instagram. All I knew was I like to lift. That was it. I'd had a few people ask me if I competed before, but I didn't even know what that meant. I thought they meant competed in powerlifting. And I was like, I don't know. So then my boyfriend shows me sebum. He shows me women competitors. And I at first was like, that's literally disgusting. Ew. Like, who would want to look like that? Me. I want to look like that. Anyways, after he said my genetics were crazy, he was like, girl, I could fix your split. I could give you a good split. I can teach you a little bit more about training. And gradually, just by being around him, I picked up a lot of knowledge. And my form got a little better. I started to learn what training with intention and intensity was. I started training till failure. I started tracking my lifts and writing them down every week, so I knew that I was progressing. And from then up until about that summer, I was still kind of just eyeballing my nutrition. I started to to eyeball track, which I think was like a good way to get started and kind of get comfortable with it until I was ready to make the jump and buy a food scale, because I will be honest, I was very nervous that if I bought a food scale, if I started weighing out my food, that I would develop an eating disorder. I don't know. I'd never had an eating disorder before, but I was just worried that my body image would dissolve. I would get really obsessive. I would cut my calories. But over those 6 months where I was eyeball tracking, I got pretty comfortable with it, and I just wanted to be more precise and make sure that I was getting enough food in. And once I really like flipped that mindset of like making sure I'm getting enough to support my training, I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm not going to develop an eating disorder. So from that fall up until about that spring, I was tracking my food. I was tracking my lifts. I was doing 2.5 to 3 leg days a week because I was really prioritizing leg growth. I was eating in a surplus. So I went from 140 pounds all the way to 165 in July. And I put on a very good amount of muscle. As I said before, I am kind of a person who can put on muscle pretty easily, but losing fat is where it gets harder for me. And when I was doing the bulk, I started to kind of toy with the idea of like, what if I competed? And I was thinking, okay, I would probably be wellness or figure, because at that point, my legs did look pretty massive. A lot of it was fat, to be so honest. But I also have just very big upper body. So I was like, maybe figure could be good, because I don't want to have to downsize my arms. I want to still be able to train upper body. So I started kind of putting feelers out and inquiring with a few coaches to see like, hey, is competing something that you think is possible for me? Is competing naturally? You think I would still do well? Like, what division are you thinking? So I kind of started thinking about all that. And in September of that year, I had already started a cut. I had gotten down from 165 back down to 150. So I was leaning out a little, still had a lot of fat left on me. And I decided to sign up with my first coach. He then told me that, to do a successful bodybuilding prep, I would probably need to introduce meat into my system, because I was currently having about 5 scoops of protein powder a day, in addition to lots of Greek yogurt, lots of cottage cheese, and lots of egg whites, which, if you don't know, those combination of all the dairy, all the processed, it can really mess with your stomach. So even though technically I was hitting all my macros, I was very inflamed looking. I didn't look as good as I could have. I know. So I was like, you know what? I have been a vegetarian for 20 years. I honestly didn't think I would ever start eating meat, but I'm okay with starting to introduce this, because I think I really do want to do a bodybuilding show. I want to test myself. I want to see how I can look on stage. And I think I just want to go for it. So with that first coach, we did a brief maintenance phase when we were introducing the meat into my system, and then we went back into a deficit from November all the way until August when I did my first show. So it was honestly like the hardest thing I've ever done. I was doing 1 hour and 35 minutes of cardio 6 times a week at the end of it for like at least a month and a half. We had 15 minutes of HIIT cardio in there. My food got incredibly low. I was on trace carbs on my rest days, and like, I don't know, probably 30 grams or 40 grams of carbs on my training days. My food did get below 1,000 calories for like over a month. Got very, very depleted. And I did my first show in figure. I did switch coaches 10 days before that first show. Not because of the protocol. I could handle the protocol. I never once cheated on my diet. I never even thought about cheating on my diet. It was more so because of the lack of communication and the lack of support. And I really just didn't trust that that coach would be able to bring a really good package for me by being as attentive as what I needed during my peak week and especially show day, because he wasn't going to be there in person. And I was honestly just very doubtful that I would even get any communication on show day, and I was very nervous about that. So I'd also had doubts about this coach, honestly, since I started working with him, but more so I kind of trusted that things would get better and better as I got deeper in prep, because obviously you have to give attention to your prep clients because they need it the most. However, that was not the case. I was a little bit naive. And at 8 weeks out, I got so frustrated because I hadn't heard back from my check-ins for 2 weeks. I'd gotten like the most vague, kind of brushed over answer, and that kind of like hit a nerve with me. I was like, you haven't given me a full response to my check-ins in 2 weeks, and I'm 8 weeks out from a show. My first show ever. So I did a consult call with another coach that is actually my current coach, who I will be with forever and ever because he is amazing. I will sing his praises until I freaking quit bodybuilding, and even after, because he's just a really good human being. He cares about his athletes. He loves coaching. He's truly just in it because he loves it, not for the money. And I think the issue with a lot of coaches who are popular is that they have a really big client roster, and it just makes it impossible for them to get back to everyone and give a really good quality of service to everyone. So anyways, I switched coaches 10 days out. I was also finishing up, so I graduated college in 3 years. Sorry, this is all over the place, but this is just me. So I finished college in 3 years. I had enough credits from high school to graduate a year early, and I was taking my last finals of my life when I was 3 weeks out, and then we did a cross-country road trip. I went to school. I went to UCSB in Santa Barbara, and I moved to Houston, where I currently live, and we did that road trip with my car, all my belongings, everything. That was a 4-day road trip. I was 2.5 weeks out. So that was really fun. Not, but we did it, and I made it here, and I love Houston. So anyways, I switched coaches. My current coach was like, holy crap, you've been so depleted for so long. Like, we're not even going to be able to like get you to look full on stage, but we can start trying to carb load you now and taper down your cardio. So immediately he gave me a lot more food and literally pulled cardio and just had me doing steps, which is amazing and insane. And of course my weight dropped because my body was less stressed. So I did my first show. I did my figure show. It was a lot of fun. I had my parents come. I had a lot of my friends come. They literally, best people in the world, by the way, they all drove from Houston to Austin, booked an Airbnb together, stayed over the weekend, supported me, cheered for me. I felt so loved, and it was completely amazing. Did I place that well? Honestly, no. Did I really care? Not really. And at that show and kind of around that time, my coach had said like, hey, I think you would be really good in bikini. Do you want to try to see like if there's a show near you that would be convenient like pretty soon to just hop in and try bikini? And I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm already lean. Might as well. The only thing I was really nervous about was like, oh my God, I have to learn the bikini posing in like 3 weeks. Which I will say that was my downfall on stage. Like I completely messed up my back pose, but he gave me the most amazing recommendation for a posing coach. Alex is amazing. I will like link her. She's so great. So we did a few posing lessons. We switched my split to be a lot more glute focused, shoulder focused. And again, he kept feeding me into the show. So I got a lot more food, less cardio again. And I did my show in bikini, and that is where I kind of thought, and I was like, I think this is where I belong. Like, figure is amazing and so gorgeous, but staying a natural athlete, I don't want to say it's impossible because there are women who have done it, but I don't have the genetic structure for that. Like, width-wise, my shoulders are pretty narrow. And so I was like, okay, I think bikini is where I'm better suited. And now I am 11 and a half weeks into my off season. We are focusing on growing those shoulders, growing those glutes, and I will be making my national stage debut in the spring of 2026. And I cannot wait to show a better package with better posing, with more size, more fullness. And that's kind of where I currently am with my fitness journey. And I can't wait to compete again. Turns out I did love competing. And who knows how long I'll compete for, who knows what level I'll ever reach, how well I'll do, but honestly, staying natural and doing bikini is the best route for me, because for me, I always got into bodybuilding because I love to train and because I love to see visible results and progress in myself. And so I'm okay with staying natural. I'm okay with it taking a long time to see progress. I don't want to risk the side effects of PEDs. I totally respect anyone that does. Building muscle and achieving like a really great physique is incredibly hard, whether you use PEDs or you don't. But for me, bodybuilding is just like, it's not that deep. I love it, and I hope I can place really well and continue to improve. But, you know, if at the end of the day, like, my genetic potential doesn't take me so far, that's still okay. And I'm still going to keep trying to build my physique to what I want it to look like and keep improving. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you watched this entire video, comment what you would like to see next from me, and I love you guys so much. You can find me on Instagram at ELIYALIFTS and TikTok at ELIYALIFTS, and I will link the rest of my links. You can use code Eliya at a lot of my sponsors and code ELIYALIFTS at a few others. I'll give the list right there. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support, and I will see you guys in the next video.